another room here. We have a whole nother room in here that we grind our Hypalon strips in. And if you get a chance, you can come down here, take a pass by there, just to see what it looks like.
Margarita or Bloody Mary? They're making us margaritas.
Oh yeah, those are the, you didn't see John's red cookies? Yeah. All the blends flying.
Oh, you make that look easy.
Đen đen, lắm đen.
I'll explain that. All that Hypalon is brought out and stored in the racks here, so that we can get whatever we need for the drips that we have. Okay, what the guys are doing right now are putting the rear grips and the reel seats on. You can see them painting the epoxy on. He's turning that around and around to be sure that he's got good coverage inside, and then they'll clean the excess epoxy off. We go through a lot of napkins.
That's a Hercules 70X6 screening rod disclaimer, by the way.
We do use here, actually the first thing that Mike will do when we get a blank is to spine the blank and put the tip tops on it. Spining a blank is a process that we used to go through because at one time people felt that if you built the rod on spine, which is the outside of the curve, when the blank finds a place where it wants to bend, the outside of that curve is called the effective spine. So we set the guides up on the effective spine because the blank is bending in the direction that it wants to bend. It actually has nothing to, the original assumption was that if you put it in that position, the rod wouldn't twist. It would reduce that. That spine has absolutely nothing to do with rod twist. Guides on top has everything to do with rod twist. You'll never see a spinning rod or a fly rod twist. It can't, because the guides are holding it in position.
Hence, for acid rod.
Hence the reason for the acid rod. Absolutely. In fact, acid rods are smoother, aren't they, Jim?
Oh yeah.
So, because fishermen have been educated since the late 70s to look at a rod and bend it to see if it's built on spine, manufacturers are forced into a position where actually we have to spine them. There are some that believes that spining rods on a manufacturing basis will reduce the amount of breakage that we get back by maybe 3 or 4% in a year. I don't know that that's true because I firmly believe that it has nothing to do with it. Okay, Mike will take and spine each one of these, and when he does, he flexes this blank. He really puts a flex to it to find out where that spine is. If you spined a blank and did it just in the tip section, you probably come out with a different effective spine than he got when he really put the beef to it. But we want to do it to make sure that not only is it on spine, but that it's not going to break. Because if it's going to break, it's going to break here. So when you call me and tell me you broke just on a, you've got a 40-pound outfit and it broke on a 5-pound bonita, I know that there's got to be something else there besides just that 5-pound bonita.
Car doors?
Car door, yes. Another thing that happens that people really don't realize, especially on the long-range trips where you've got a lot of people moving in and out of your tangles and that sort of thing, if you're back there hanging on to your rod and a deckhand grabs your rod right here, and you get any amount of weight put on that tip, you could end up with somebody holding the tip section of your rod and the entire weight of that fish hit that particular section, and it isn't being transferred back into the rod. So it's a real good way to end up with a busted tip. And you may not even know it because it may happen clear down here somewhere where you're waiting to get the rod over the top of you. So a lot of things can happen during fishing and on the boats that you don't even know about, and suddenly you think, geez, that rod never should have broken under those conditions, when in fact something had happened to it that you weren't even aware of. Okay, and
What about swinging lead from somebody else's setup and their lead is swinging on the boat and hits yours?
anytime that you damage the exterior of this glass, if you damage the glass itself, yeah, it can break. You create a weak spot. There are a number of things that we find in manufacturing blanks that can cause breaks. The bad tack that I was telling you about. An oversand condition where we get a blank that's sanded too much on one side. I can see that. If the glass is kind of funny stuff. You can't let it sit out and dry for too long. Once we cut a pattern, we like to get it rolled within 3 or 4 days if possible, because the resin in there will begin to dry out. If you feel that stuff over there, it feels a little bit tacky. You can hear it peel off, and when it starts to dry out, I can see it in the glass. So if we get a break that's caused by dry glass, it's very evident. So when we get a blank back in here or a rod back here in here that somebody says just broke, we'll look at it to see what those conditions are, and we can tell.
Hey Louis, what you doing?
Real man working, Louis?
Yeah.
Real man working, okay. Okay, once we get the grips, the rear grip put on, the bushings for the reel seat are put on, we still use masking tape. There are better things to do, but they aren't as conducive to production work. The caveat to that is masking tape is fine as long as you're sure that you've well encapsulated it. In other words, we want to get enough epoxy completely encapsulating the masking tape so that moisture will never get to it. Because if it does, I can guarantee you'll be sending that rod back into me with a reel seat that's going around like this. Once in a while it happens. But the caveat here to that bushing is that if you're building your own, that you well encapsulate
On that one that's right
the tape.
there. He's gonna do one of them real quick.
Okay.
Yeah.